Welcome back to Module 3, Lesson 14. Today we're going to jump into solving some inequalities. So let's just go right in with our opening exercise. The annual county carnival is being held this summer and will last 5.5 days. Use this information and other given information to answer each problem. Okay, so let's go ahead and highlight that. We are looking at the carnival held, so it was held for 5.5 days. We're going to need to use that information. You are the owner of the biggest and newest roller coaster called the Gentle Giant. The roller coaster costs $6 to ride, and the operator of the ride must pay $200 per day for the ride rental and $65 per day for a safety inspection. If you want to make a profit of at least $1,000 each day, what is the minimum number of people that must ride the roller coaster? Write an inequality that can be used to find the minimum number of people, we're going to call them that P, which must ride the roller coaster each day to make the daily profit. So let's highlight some of the things we know. We know that it costs $6 to ride. We know that there is a $200 per day, right, operator fee. And we also know that there's a $65 per day safety inspection. And they want to make at least $1,000, right? So if they make more than $1,000, that's fine. If they make less than $1,000, then that's not really going to cover their cost. So we need to figure out what that is. So we could say that $1,000 could be less than, because the writers could create more money. So $1,000 would be less than, but it can also be equal to, because they have to at least make $1,000. Then we've got the cost of each ride is $6 per person, so that's our P. And because it's a fee, an operator fee per day, we have to subtract 200. And then the inspection, right, that's again something they're paying out. So we have to subtract 65 for that inspection. So here's our inequality. Now we're going to solve it, okay? So we're just going to keep going down here. I'm going to combine some like terms. So I've got 1,000 is less than or equal to 6P minus 265, okay, because they're both negative numbers. So now, again, remember we solved an inequality very similar to the way we solved an equation. So I want to get P all by itself. So because I'm subtracting 65, 265. If I add 265 to both sides, then I end up with 1,265 less than or equal to 6P. Then I need to divide both sides by 6. I end up with P on one side. And then on the other side, let's see, what is this? We've got 1265, 6, that's 2. That's 12. 0, 6, that's 1. That's 0, that's 6, that's 0. Then we got 5, and we can't make any. So then we end up with 5, 6 left over. So 210 and 5, 6. Or you could make it a decimal if you wanted to also. So basically they need at least, right, to make, so if we interpret the solution, to make $1,000 in profit daily, at least 211 people have to ride. Now, it has to be more than 210, right? But we can't, you can't have 5/6 of a person ride, so it would have to be 211 people. All right, let's go look at example number 1. A youth summer camp has a budget of $2,000 for the campers to attend the carnival. The cost of each camper is $17.95, which includes general admission to the carnival and 2 meals. The youth summer camp must also pay $250 for the chaperones to attend the carnival and $350 for transportation to and from the carnival. What is the greatest number of campers who can attend the carnival if the camp must stay within the budget, when it's budgeted amount? All right, so what's the information we have? They budgeted $2,000. Each camper pays $17.95. Then there's a $2.50 fee for the chaperones and $350 for transportation. So here we are with $2,000 on one side. And so you have to ask yourself, can it be greater than $2,000? And it can't, because that's their budget, and if they go over, they don't have any money to cover that. So in this case, $2,000 has to be greater than or equal to the rest of my inequality, okay? And we're going to say that C is equal to the campers, okay? So each camper pays $17.95, okay? But we don't know how many campers there are, plus 250 plus 350. So there's my inequality. So now we're just going to solve. First thing I'm going to do is combine like terms. So I've got 2,000 is greater than or equal to 1795C plus 600. Because 250 plus 350 is 600. All right. Now we can subtract 600 from both sides. We end up with 1,400 is greater than or equal to 1795C. Then we need to divide both sides by 1795. And let's go put that in the calculator. So 1,400 divided by 1795. That gives us 77. We're around that because we're talking about money. So we'll round that to 17. We could do whole number. Does it tell us to round? Does it say? No. So C can be less than or equal to 70. Oh, sorry. This is the amount of campers. What was our number again? So we're going to round that to 77 because if they have, right, you can't have part of a person. So if they have 78, they're going to go over that $2,000 budget. So 77 campers is what is all they can take for that for the $2,000 budget. All right, let's look at example 2. The carnival owner pays the owner of an exotic animal exhibit $650 for the entire time the exhibit is displayed. The owner of the exhibit has no other expenses except for a daily insurance cost. If the owner of the animal exhibit wants to make more than $500 in profit for the 5.5 days, what is the greatest daily insurance rate he can afford? So we're going to call I our daily insurance rate. Okay. And we've got the animal exhibit, right? The owner pays $650. It's for 5.5 days and they want to make a $500 profit. All right. So if we look at what our inequality could be. So if I want to make I forgot to change it back to the pen. If we want to make a $500 profit, right? So it could be more than $500. So we would say less than, but we don't want it to be equal because we want it to be more than 500. Okay. So 500 has to be less than our 650 minus, now I'm going to change 5.5. I'm going to make that a decimal and use 5.5 so we could put it in our calculator. So that's going to be 5.5i. Okay. So now we can solve our inequality. Let's subtract 650 from both sides. Here we end up with negative 150. And then we have a negative 5.5i, right? Because they're giving, he has to give this money, right? So that's why it's a negative. Now we're going to divide both sides by negative 5.5. Now, here's the very important rule to remember. Because we're dividing by a negative number, we have to switch the sign. Okay, so let's first go find out what 150 divided by 5.5 is. That's 27. It's 27, 27, 27. So we'll just leave that at 27.27. And again, I'm switching my symbol, right? So notice the change. I went from this less than to greater than, okay? Because we're dividing by a negative number. And then I just end up with I on this side. And so this is how much insurance he can afford to pay. $27.27 daily. Okay? All right, last example. Let's look at number 3. Several vendors at the carnival sell products and advertise their businesses. Shane works for a recreational company that sells ATVs, dirt bikes, snowmobiles, and motorcycles. His boss paid $500 for working all the days at the carnival, plus a 5% commission on all the sales made at the carnival. A commission is extra money you earn for whatever you sell. What was the minimum amount of the sales Shane needed to make if he earned more than $1,500? So what information do we have? We know that his boss paid him $500, right, for working all those days. He also got a 5% commission, right? And what we're trying to figure out is what is the minimum amount of sales, okay, if he made more than $1,500, okay? So we are going to put our 1,500 on this side. You can put on the other side too. You just need to make sure you have the right sign. This is going to be $1,500 is going to be less than whatever, right? Because we want the other part to be more than 1,500. And so I've also he got paid $500, right, for working. And we're going to add that to his 5% commission. Now, 5% can be written as a fraction as 5 over 100. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that as 5 over 100. Right? And we're looking for the minimum sales. So we're going to put S equal to sales. Okay? So that's going to be 500ths S. Now we're ready to solve. Let's subtract 500 from both sides. This is 1,000 less than 500ths S. So now we need to figure out what are we going to do to get rid of 500ths? So remember, really, that we're multiplying that. So if we're multiplying, we're going to divide by 500ths. But when we divide a fraction by a fraction, we generally do keep, change, flip. So then we end up multiplying by the reciprocal, right? So these cancel each other out, create an equivalent form of 1. So we end up with S on this side, okay? And our sign stays the same. And we're also going to multiply this side by 100 over 5. Now, I can do some cross-canceling here, or I could just multiply across. So 100 times 1,000 is 100,000 over 5, okay? And so S is got to be, if I end up doing the division here, then I end up with 20,000. So what does this mean? He has to make a minimum